against a candidate who reminds me of the symbol of his party, the circus elephant, his head full of ivory, a long memory and no vision, and you have seen elephants being led around the circus ring. They grab the tail of the elephant in front of them.
And the
I, John Fitzgerald Kennedy, do solemnly swear
that you will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States.
that I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States
And will, to the best of your ability,
and will, to the best of my ability,
preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States.
preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States.
So help you God.
So help me God.
Let the word go forth from this time and place to friend and foe alike that the torch has been passed to a new generation of Americans born in this century, tempered by war, disciplined by a hard and bitter peace, proud of our ancient heritage, and unwilling to witness or permit the slow undoing of those human rights to which this nation has always been committed and to which we are committed today at home and around the world.
All free men, wherever they may live, are citizens of Berlin. And therefore, as a free man, I take pride in the word, Ich bin ein Berliner.
Make the trip to Texas. There he had hoped to reconcile differences between two factions of the state's Democratic Party, as well as drum up political support in a state that he had barely carried back in 1960. Kennedy, in fact, had felt the visit to be so crucial to his re-election chances that he persuaded his wife, Jacqueline, to accompany him.
My name is William Cooper. Between the years 1970 and 1973, I served on the intelligence briefing team of the Commander-in-Chief of the United States Pacific Fleet, who at that time was Admiral Bernard Cleary. I was attached to the Office of Naval Intelligence. I had a top secret, Q, sensitive compartmentalized information, security clearance, and actually had access and the need to know almost everything that the Admiral himself, the members of his staff, and many high-level government officials. It was during this time that during the routine course of my duties, top-secret documents crossed my desk that I was able to read that outlined everything that really and truthfully happened, according to those documents, in Dallas on November the 22nd, 1963, when President John F. Kennedy was assassinated. According to these top secret documents, the intelligence community and the national security apparatus considered John F. Kennedy to be a threat to the national security. It did not explain what this meant. It stated also that he had ordered the security establishment to prepare a plan to reveal to the American people within the following year the truth about unidentified flying objects. It also stated that he had ordered the intelligence community and the CIA specifically to cease importing and selling illegal narcotics, drugs, to the American people in order to finance their black projects. Now we know that he had ordered also the printing of real money, again, silver certificates, backed by real silver money. And we also know that that would have broken the back of the Federal Reserve. He had also threatened publicly to disband the Central Intelligence Agency and scatter it to the thousand winds. We know that he had refused to provide air support for the invasion of the Bay of Pigs. A lot of people were really angry and upset with John F. Kennedy. It's stated in those documents that the assassination pistol used was prepared, manufactured specifically by the Central Intelligence Agency for assassinations. It was electrically operated, gas-powered, and could either fire a poison dart, a small hypodermic needle, or an exploding pellet which could contain any one of several deadly poisons. These documents stated that William Greer, the driver of the president's car, a Secret Service agent, an ex-chauffeur of the Lodge family, turned in his seat and fired with this assassination pistol at point-blank range at the president's head, an exploding pellet filled with shellfish toxin, which really killed our president. President Kennedy's brain was missing. Another was substituted in its place, which showed little or no damage at all. Completely opposite of what the doctors at Parkland Hospital described. The documents that I read said that President Kennedy's body was taken out of the casket on the plane and actually arrived at Bethesda Naval Hospital a full 30 minutes before the empty casket that the public television cameras and Mrs. Kennedy accompanied. It stated that when the autopsy was performed, they found that the brain had already been severed at the spinal cord and showed little or no damage whatsoever. This has since been confirmed by independent investigators other than me. But I can prove that as far back as 1972, I told all of these details to several other people, one of whom I have disclosed publicly already. In this film you're going to see, this film narrated by a man named Lars Hansen, the film that he claims that he prepared and discovered. We really haven't gotten to the bottom of that yet. You're going to see this act, but this is a poor film. Watch closely. Keep your eyes on the driver. Remember, if you want to see who murdered a man, don't watch the man being murdered. Look around. In this instance, keep your eyes on the driver. Now, if you don't see it in this section of the film, you're going to see a better film after this, at some point. And then, before this video is over, you're going to see the most crystal clear, most beautiful copy of the Zapruder film you've ever seen in your life. And you're going to see, without any doubt, William Greer shoot President Kennedy and kill that man in Dallas.
Nearly 25 years ago, the people of the United States and the world were shattered by the impact of an assassin's bullets upon the helpless, unsuspecting young President of the United States, John Fitzgerald Kennedy. The horrendous wound inflicted by those bullets has penetrated deeply into the body and soul of America, destroying the very lives of thousands and the heart and trust and political will of literally millions. In the years that have passed since this tragic event removed from the world stage perhaps one of the most promising human agents of peace and progressive political development, we have been fed one officially sanctioned lie after another, beginning with a blue ribbon cover-up commission to a castrated Senate Select Committee seeking to shed light upon an event deliberately enshrouded in deception, concealment, and outright falsehood. 25 years is long enough. It is time the truth was finally told, in the earnest hope that it will truly set us free of the murderers who pose as our protectors. What we're observing here is the motorcade in Dallas on November 22nd, 1963. As the presidential car passes behind the freeway sign, President Kennedy is struck in the throat by a bullet that was fired from the grassy knoll. As he's grasping his throat, John Connally is turning around to his right. He at that point is struck. You notice the the passenger of the car turning back to see what has happened to the president. As he turns back to the front, the driver of the car turns with his left arm over his right shoulder with a pistol and fires. You see the 45 caliber nickel-plated automatic weapon in his left hand. He's firing over his right shoulder. You see it in relief. You see his head pointing backwards towards the president. In this enhanced close-up, you see the impact of the bullet upon the president. The force of the shot drives him violently backward against the back of the seat. You see Mrs. Kennedy react in horror. The ugly gaping wound, which is evident here, according to many observers at the scene, was actually created on the print. This was not the actual nature of the wound. But you notice that Mrs. Kennedy wasted no time in trying to exit the vehicle because she clearly was able to determine exactly where that shot had originated, and it was her personal bodyguard, Clint Hill, another Secret Service agent, who attempted to keep her in. What the arrow is indicating here is what appears to be the outline of a man, a hat, and his rifle. The arrow is pointing to the rifle barrel of the man in the bushes who possibly was the rifleman on the grassy knoll who fired that shot. Another view taken by another photographer. Again, you see Mrs. Kennedy trying to exit the vehicle from behind, being pushed back in by her bodyguard. A number of witnesses on the scene rushing towards the vehicle. In this section, the man standing on the far right of the wall there is Abraham Zapruder, the photographer who took the original photos. The arrow here is indicating what was very likely the rifleman on the grassy knoll, the man who fired the shot which penetrated Kennedy's throat from the front, not from behind as the Warren Commission would have you believe. Very interesting note also that the motorcycle policemen were told to remain behind the car at all times. Here you see the passenger in the front turning back, looking at the president. Instead of jumping back to assist him, he turns forward. The driver's now rotating. The weapon comes into view and he fires. You'll see this repeatedly in these sequences. Kennedy's been shot in the throat. He's leaning to his left. The driver now begins to rotate. His left arm comes over his right shoulder and he fires now. Again, you see the driver rotate. You see the weapon come into view. He's rotating again. The weapon is in view. He fires. You can clearly see his head turning and his arm and the weapon extending into view over his right shoulder. Many of the witnesses indicated that the car slowed almost to a virtual halt at about this point. And here in the normal version you see how much more quickly it is speeded up. It's much harder to determine. Many of the people who asked the question why Jackie Kennedy did not report this, it should be fairly evident that she wasted no time in getting away from the attacker.
For those of you who were able to see it the first time out, pretty shocking, wasn't it? I bet it changes your mind about a lot of things. And if you still have any doubts, keep watching. But first, I'm going to show you and let you hear a statement made by President Dwight David Eisenhower when he left the office of president. He tried to warn us, and we didn't listen. I think it's time to hear his warning again, and this time I think we had better listen.
Longtime crowd pleaser Dwight Eisenhower is in his final year in the White House. Much of the country is still satisfied with the father figure's easy grin, though he seems tired by now. He got the U.S. out of Korea, but the economy is a problem, and some are bored with his hold-the-line approach. There is a growing mood for change. Leaving office, he fires a broadside at 2 power centers that could destroy the world.
In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex. The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist.
I know some of you remember hearing that. I know that many of you have never heard it and didn't even know about it. And if you hadn't seen it on this video, might never have known about it for the rest of your life. Now you're going to see another tape. We sent the original copy of Dallas Revisited that we had obtained from John Lear, and another copy that we had obtained directly from Lars Hansen, to Japan for computer analysis. The Japanese computer analyzed the film. They agreed William Greer shot President Kennedy. No doubt about it. In fact, I woke up a whole nation, and that's what I set out to do. Only it's the wrong nation. I woke up Japan. They played that tape over and over again during prime time. The whole Japanese nation knows now who shot President Kennedy. They sent me back a color copy. Now, the color copy is better, much better than Dallas Revisited. But it's still not the best. But one thing that will help you, the act is circled and they outlined what they found by computer analysis. So you're going to be able to see it a lot better this time around. Remember, keep your eyes on the driver.
一発目が発射された直後、画面右端の運転手が振り向き、肩越しにピストルで撃つのが見える。画面の右端に見える運転手の動作に注意するとわかる。ハンドルを握った右腕越しに左手でピストルを突き出している。もう一度見てみよう。間もなく運転手の頭が後ろを振り向くと同時に肩のところに白く光るピストルが出てくるのが見える。今後ろを振り向く。同じシーンを何度か繰り返してみるとよくわかる。
Well, I know that now a lot more of you have seen it. A lot more than saw it when you watched the original black and white Dallas Revisited at the beginning of this videotape. And I bet there's some wet eyes out there. You've probably gone into the Kleenex box or into your pocket for a handkerchief. Don't be ashamed and don't be embarrassed. It never fails to bring a lump up in my throat. And for the first couple of years that I showed these tapes, I had tears in my eyes too. It's a very emotional experience. I've been trying to wake up America for 4 years. I'm making some progress, not enough. A lot of people have severely criticized me because I didn't have evidence about the gun and I didn't have evidence about the shellfish toxin. fact, people told me that the CIA had never engaged in assassinations. If they had just been aware of the House Select Committee on Assassinations, which investigated this very subject and this very assassination in 1976, they would know that that's not true. For it's in the archives of the film of those hearings that we find reference to the gun, photographs of the gun, film of the gun, reference to the shellfish toxin, but still no proof of the toxin. Until we watched a show on television, on public broadcast station, one night, here recently, called Secret Intelligence. And in that film, it showed a PhD doctor, Hannell is his name, explaining and showing where and how they manufactured shellfish toxin to be used in assassinations at Fort Detrick, Maryland, under the supervision and control of the Central Intelligence Agency. Now you're going to see those two clips. These two clips came to me originally from a research team of Colonel Keith Ranch. That's an honorary title, by the way, given by me for the outstanding work that he's done in helping us unravel this mystery and other mysteries. And Gordon Davis. Now the copies they sent us weren't too good, so we kept searching. We found better copies than that, and that's what you're going to see. Now you're going to see the gun, and you're going to see proof that they used shellfish toxin, and that the CIA had both of these in their possession.
We have seen today the dark side of those activities, where many Americans who were not even suspected of crime were not only spied upon, but they were harassed, they were discredited, and at times endangered.
Frank Church headed a Senate committee probing the intelligence community. Church took an open approach that some of his colleagues questioned.
Where does the public's right to be secure override the public's right to know about something? Because in informing the public on a very sensitive matter, you're also informing the potential enemies of the United States. So I think you run into a philosophic conflict there. And I err on the side of protecting the security of the people.
For 30 years, Congress had turned a blind eye to intelligence. Now senators competed for the national spotlight as the intelligence hearings went public.
Every television camera in town was there, and it was really cranked up for a great show. I was told to bring this gun that we had developed and never used on people. My counsel, a very splendid guy who was with me, he said, look, don't you get near that thing. If it has to be handled, I will handle it.
Have you brought with you some of those devices which would have enabled the CIA to use this poison for?
We have indeed.
For killing people? Don't point it at me.
Mr. Colby was supposed to bring this gun up to Mr. Church. But seated next to him was the ranking Republican, Barry Goldwater. And Barry reached out and grabbed the gun and held it like this and got the picture that day. Because it was in every picture in the United States and maybe around the world, every front page. And the next day I confronted Goldwater. I said, Barry, did you know you were going to get your picture in the paper by taking the gun? He said, yes, I did. And I said, well, you took the gun away from the chairman. He said, I know I did. I said, where'd you learn that trick from? He said, Hubert Humphrey. And it worked.
While senators clamored for photo opportunities, Colby devised a strategy to save his agency.
If you try to hide every possible imperfection, it'll blow up in your face and you'll be worse off. Whereas if you can control it and be responsive and give them an honest feeling of what the whole thing is about, then I think you can survive one of these things.
You've heard of the doctrine of plausible deniability.
Yes, and I've rejected it now, Senator. I say that we cannot depend upon that anymore.
So you don't find the work of this committee unwelcome?
No, I do not. As I've said to the chairman, I welcome the chance to try to describe to the American people what intelligence is really about today. It is an opportunity to show how we Americans have modernized the whole concept of intelligence.
Colby's decision to cooperate was unpopular with some former CIA leaders who tried to hold on to the agency's secrets.
You were specifically asked about shellfish toxins and shellfish poisons. You say it's inconceivable that a secret intelligence arm of the government has to comply with all the overt orders of the government. Is that an accurate quote or not an accurate quote?
Well, if it's accurate, it shouldn't have been said.
Well, now, looks like we're on plausible denial again, is all I can say here, Mr. Chairman.
Well, you're never entirely sure because, after all, many of the people in the CIA have been trained to lie. That's their job, to spread propaganda overseas. Not that all of our propaganda are lies. In fact, most of it is an effort to reinforce the truth of what America stands for. But some of the propaganda is lies. So you're dealing with people here who have been trained to mislead when they need to. But all you can do, and all we did, was to ask as many people, as many questions as we possibly could, and when we found contradictions, to pursue those contradictions by asking yet more people.
If one has in one's possession or under one's control bacteriological or chemical weapons, they can be used both defensively and offensively.
And by use offensively, we mean to include killing people, is that right?
Well, they have the capacity to kill people if they were used in that way.
Unrestrained, illegal, secret intimidation and harassment of the essential ability of Americans to participate freely in American political life shall never happen again.
And suddenly it all began to roll out. The IRS was targeting thousands of Americans for tax investigations in order to chill the activity on their part that they didn't like. The U.S. Army was conducting surveillance of civilians in civilian life. There was a whole pattern of this running throughout government. And it was, of course, once you saw what was going on, it was a shock. We saw the tip of an iceberg that could have destroyed American liberty.
Methods for assassinating Castro already existed. This is Fort Detrick, Maryland. This once secret facility was home to CIA experiments with drugs like LSD. It was also an armory for the agency's executive action capability, a program begun under the Eisenhower administration for disposing of unwanted foreign leaders. Some of the plots called for lethal poisons that were manufactured here. Dr. Everett Hennell, a microbiologist at Fort Detrick for 3 decades, worked in association with the CIA.
These are what we call Class 3 cabinet systems. They're gas-tight systems for working with almost complete safety with any infectious diseases, toxins. Things such as the shellfish toxin are very toxic indeed, particularly when highly purified. And I understand that these could be placed on steel needles and fired with air guns into an animal and induce death almost immediately. So that they were apparently a very effective, or could be a very effective type of covert weapon.
But the real targets of these deadly drugs were not animals.
Well, now that you've seen the gun, and now that you know that the shellfish toxin did exist, and that this weapon was capable of firing it in pellets or on needles, and killing animals and people, things take a more sinister turn. And Bill Cooper's not quite as crazy as everyone thought he was in the beginning. Show you the best copy that we have of the Zapruder film. Crystal clear, sharp color. You can see everything that happens in that automobile and around it. Clear as a bell. Before we show you that film, though, we're going to show you a picture of Lee Harvey Oswald standing in the doorway of the school book depository building on the ground floor. And I'm going to tell you that the Warren Commission and the 1976 House Select Committee on Assassinations both knew about this photograph and rejected it. Then we're going to show you a picture of Oswald in custody wearing the exact same clothes. Exactly. No difference whatsoever. Now, because there are some out there who claim that the man standing in the doorway was a man named Lovelace or Lovelady, we did body measurement proportion comparison analysis between the man in the doorway and Lee Harvey Oswald in captivity. There is no doubt whatsoever, ladies and gentlemen, that the man in the doorway is Lee Harvey Oswald. Examine the photographs and you judge for yourself. Wraps it up. The only thing you've got left to see is the crystal clear, sharp, beautiful color copy of the Zapruder film that I'm now going to show you. It's going to knock your socks off, and it's going to prove to you once and for all that William Greer did shoot President Kennedy in Dallas. And for those of you who always thought that the weapon was a reflection of the sun on Agent Kellerman's head, I want you to notice that in this film, the barrel of the gun sticks out past the back of Kellerman's head by at least 2, maybe 3 inches. There is no doubt it is not a reflection. It is a weapon. William Greer did shoot the president. You can see him bring that weapon up across his chest, turn completely around in the seat, and fire at point-blank range as he's facing directly at the president. Then you can see him bring that weapon back down across his chest. You'll see him hump down, grab the steering wheel, as Agent Kellerman humps down also. And then and only then does the car speed out of the kill zone. You must understand when you watch this film, ladies and gentlemen, that these are trained Secret Service agents. The only people in that car who did what they were supposed to do was Governor and Mrs. Connolly. They got down on the floor. The driver of the car was not supposed to turn around, nor was he supposed to draw a weapon. He was supposed to get that car out of the kill zone as quickly and as efficiently as possible. The agent in the front seat was supposed to draw his gun, attempt to discover the assassins, and return fire. Neither one of those 2 men did what they were trained to do. Watch now with your own eyes. And remember, if you think that William Greer drew a pistol and turned around and pointed at the president because he heard shots, You also have to understand that it's the job of any other Secret Service man who sees anyone pointing a pistol at the president to shoot him on the spot. No, William Greer killed John F. Kennedy. And here's the proof. Well, I guess that really wraps it up. I hope that I have stirred you deeply. I hope that you're upset. I hope that you want answers. I hope that you send a copy of this videotape to your senators, to your congressmen, to the Supreme Court judges, to the Attorney General of the United States, to anyone else that you can think of. Please, do it. And remember, don't get sidetracked by the Asian tour of the secret government. Remember, Robert Groden, who has a bestseller out on the Kennedy assassination, and who is now trying to tell you that Kennedy was hit simultaneously from the front and the back, is one of those Agent tour. He is the man who, with false credentials, that he was the #1 best independent photo interpretation expert in the world, was hired by the House Select Committee on Assassinations in 1976 to view the Zapruder film and tell the committee what it contained. He blatantly lied to Congress when he said that William Greer never took his hands off the wheel. Remember that. And remember this: Robert Groden is not a photo analyst, has never been a photo analyst, has never been to school on any type of photography whatsoever, has no photographic credentials at all. His resume is a complete and total lie. Wake up before you're destroyed. The New World Order is right around the corner, and the men that killed John F. Kennedy are the architects of the New World Order. Goodbye. I hope that I've educated you. Please don't believe anything that I've said. Believe your own gut, your own eyes, your own research. And God bless you.